My name is Samantha Reed, 28 years old, and the life I carefully built almost fell apart when my parents demanded I give up my own home for my brother. After promising they would support my independence, my father and mother made a devastating announcement at dinner that left me feeling betrayed and worthless. They thought I would quietly comply like always, but this time they pushed too far. The consequences went beyond what any of us could have imagined. Before I continue my story, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Leave a like and subscribe for more family secrets that nobody tells. Everything started 3 years ago when I purchased my condo in Boston. It wasn't easy. I saved for years, working extra shifts at the hospital where I'm a nurse, eating ramen more often than I care to admit, and saying no to vacations. But it was worth it when I finally had the keys in my hand. A place that was truly mine. 2 bedrooms, large windows that let in the morning sun, and a small balcony where I could drink my coffee and watch the city wake up. My parents, Richard and Diana Reed, didn't exactly celebrate my achievement. When I invited them over to see my new place, they walked through with tight smiles, pointing out issues instead of complimenting anything. "The kitchen is awfully small," my mother said. "And this neighborhood isn't the safest, Samantha." My father shook his head at the price I'd paid. "You could have saved more and bought something nicer, or just waited until you were married and buying with your husband." I'd learned long ago not to expect much encouragement from them. My brother Adam, 2 years younger than me, had always been the golden child. When he graduated college, they threw him a huge party. When I finished nursing school with honors, they took me to dinner at Olive Garden. I decorated my condo exactly how I wanted it. Soft gray walls, colorful art, plants in every corner. For the first time, I didn't have to consider anyone else's preferences. The place became my sanctuary after long hospital shifts. Adam was still living with our parents, saving money, while working at my father's insurance company. He had a good salary but spent most of it on a new car, expensive clothes, and weekend trips with his girlfriend Lily. The real trouble began 6 months ago when Adam and Lily got engaged. My parents were ecstatic, planning an elaborate wedding and talking about their future grandchildren. I was happy for them too. Lily was sweet, if a little passive. Last Sunday, my parents invited me for their traditional family dinner. Nothing unusual. We did this twice a month. Adam and Lily were there too, looking oddly uncomfortable when I arrived. My mother had made her specialty pot roast, which usually meant she wanted something. We made small talk through the appetizers and main course. My father asked about my work, barely listening to my answers. My mother fussed over Adam and Lily, refilling their wine glasses before they were half empty. It was during dessert, apple pie with vanilla ice cream, when my father cleared his throat. "Samantha, we need to discuss something important with you." The table went quiet. I noticed Lily staring at her plate. "Adam and Lily are getting married in 3 months," my father continued, "and they need a place to live. They've been looking at apartments," my mother added, "but everything in good neighborhoods is so expensive right now." I nodded, not yet understanding where this was heading. "The market is tough. It took me forever to find my place." My father set down his fork. "That's what we wanted to talk to you about. Your condo would be perfect for them." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "My condo? They want to live in my building?" "No, Samantha," my mother said impatiently. "In your condo, your actual unit." The pie turned to ash in my mouth. "But I live there." "We know that, honey," my mother said, her voice sweet but her eyes hard. "But you only need 1 bedroom, really. Adam and Lily will need the 2nd bedroom for a nursery soon. They're married," my father added, as if that explained everything. "They need their own place. You could rent something smaller, maybe closer to the hospital." I looked at Adam, waiting for him to say this was ridiculous. He glanced up briefly. "It would really help us out, Sam." Lily at least had the decency to look mortified. "You want me to move out of my own home?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "The home I saved for years to buy? The home that is in my name and that I pay the mortgage on?" "Don't be dramatic," my father said. "Family helps family. Your brother needs this." "And what about what I need?" The words came out sharper than I intended. My mother's face hardened. Samantha, you've always been so selfish. Adam and Lily are starting a family. That's important. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. And my life isn't? That's not what she meant, my father said quickly. Look, we've already discussed it. You can stay with us until you find a new place. We'll help you move your things to storage. They had discussed it. Without me. They had planned how to take my home away as if I had no say in the matter. No, I said, surprising even myself with how steady my voice was. Absolutely not. Samantha, be reasonable, my mother snapped. I am being reasonable. I'm saying no to giving up my home that I worked for and paid for. That's the most reasonable thing I've ever said. I grabbed my purse and walked out, ignoring their calls to come back and discuss this like adults. In my car, I sat with my hands shaking on the steering wheel, wondering how my own family could think so little of me. The drive home from my parents' house felt endless. Rain began to fall, matching my mood as I gripped the steering wheel. I couldn't believe what had just happened. My own family expecting me to simply hand over my home because my brother was getting married. When I finally reached my condo, I sat in the parking garage for several minutes, trying to compose myself. I'd never stood up to my parents like that before. It had always been easier to go along with whatever they wanted, to be the good daughter who didn't cause problems. Inside my apartment, I kicked off my shoes and collapsed onto the couch, running my hands over the soft fabric I'd carefully chosen. Every item in this place represented a choice I'd made for myself. The abstract painting above my fireplace that my mother had called a waste of money. The emerald green kitchen backsplash that my father said was too bold. This was my home, filled with pieces of me. My phone buzzed repeatedly with texts from my family. I ignored them all and turned it off. That night, I barely slept, replaying the dinner conversation in my head and thinking of all the things I should have said. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in over a year. I needed time to think. As I sipped coffee on my balcony, watching the city bustle below, my phone rang. It was Lily. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. Samantha? I'm so sorry about last night, she said immediately. I told Adam we couldn't take your place, but he insisted your parents had already talked to you about it. They hadn't, I replied flatly. I know that now. She sounded genuinely remorseful. I felt horrible the entire time. I wanted to say something, but you know how your parents can be. I did know. My parents had a way of presenting their decisions as if they were already finalized, leaving no room for discussion. What does Adam say about all this? I asked. Lily hesitated. He thinks you'll come around. He said you always do. Her words stung because they were true. I had always given in before, putting my brother's needs ahead of my own because it was easier than fighting. Not this time, I said firmly. This is my home, Lily. I worked hard for it. I understand, she said softly. And for what it's worth, I agree with you. We'll find our own place. After we hung up, I felt slightly better knowing Lily was on my side. But I still had to deal with my parents and Adam. Later that afternoon, my doorbell rang. I peered through the peephole to see Adam standing there, looking impatient. I considered not answering, but decided it was better to face this head-on. Can I come in? He asked when I opened the door. I stepped aside silently. Adam walked in and immediately started pacing my living room. You need to stop being difficult about this, Sam, he said without preamble. Mom and Dad are upset. I'm being difficult? I laughed incredulously. You're the one who wants me to give up my home. It's not like that, he protested. We just thought since I'm getting married and starting a family, I need the space more than you do. That's exactly what it's like, I countered. You decided what you need is more important than what I need. You decided my home should be yours because you want it. But you're just one person, and we'll be 3 soon. He said it as if it was the most logical argument in the world. So buy your own place like I did, I said. Save up, make sacrifices. Adam ran a hand through his hair in frustration. The market is insane right now. We can't afford anything decent in a good neighborhood. That's not my problem, I said. surprised at my own firmness. I struggled too. I saved for years. It's different for you, he insisted. You don't have wedding expenses. Because I'm not getting married. I threw my hands up. Adam, listen to yourself. You're asking me to give up my home because you chose to have an expensive wedding and didn't save for a house. He glared at me. Mom and Dad are right. You've always been selfish. The accusation hit me like a physical blow. Selfish? For wanting to keep my own home that I paid for? For not wanting to disrupt my entire life because you didn't plan ahead? Family helps family, he said, parroting our father's words from the night before. Where was that family help when I was working double shifts to save for this place? I asked quietly. Where was it when I ate ramen for dinner 3 nights a week to put more money toward my down payment? Did you or Mom and Dad ever offer to help me? Adam looked away, unable to answer. I've always supported you, I continued. I've always been happy for your successes, but I won't give up my home. Not for you, not for anyone. Fine, he snapped. Be that way, but don't expect Mom and Dad to understand. They're really disappointed in you. After Adam left, slamming the door behind him, I sat down and cried. Not because I regretted my decision, but because I was grieving the family I thought I had. One that would support me as much as I supported them. That evening, my mother called. I almost didn't answer, but decided it was better to clear the air. We need to talk about your behavior yesterday, she said as soon as I picked up. My behavior? I replied, trying to keep my voice level. Mom, you and Dad asked me to give up my home. How did you expect me to react? We expected you to consider what's best for the family, she said. Adam is starting his own family now. That takes precedence. Over my right to live in my own home? I asked incredulously. Don't be dramatic, Samantha, she sighed. You could easily find a small apartment. It's not like you need much space. It's just you. The way she said just you made it clear what she thought. That my life as a single woman was somehow less valuable, less deserving of space and comfort than my brother's married life. My answer is still no, I said firmly. And if you and Dad can't respect that, then maybe we need some distance. You don't mean that, my mother said, her voice hardening. You're being childish. I'm being an adult who's setting boundaries, I countered. This is my home, my life, and my decision. She was quiet for a moment. Your father wants to speak with you. Before I could protest, my father's voice came on the line. Samantha, enough of this nonsense. We've always taught you to put family first. This isn't about family, Dad. It's about respect. You didn't even ask me. You just assumed I would give up my home. Because we thought you would understand what's important, he snapped. Your brother needs... What about what I need? I interrupted. Has anyone thought about that? The line went silent for a moment. If you can't see reason, my father finally said, then perhaps we should take a break from these conversations until you can. Perhaps we should, I agreed, surprised at how calm I felt. After hanging up, I made a decision. I needed to protect myself and my home. The next day, I called a lawyer to make sure my parents couldn't somehow pressure me legally. The lawyer assured me that as the sole owner, only I could make decisions about my property. I also called a locksmith to change my locks, just in case my family had a spare key I didn't know about. It felt extreme, but I needed to establish clear boundaries. That night, as I looked around my secure, peaceful home, I knew I had made the right decision. For the first time in my life, I had put myself first. It felt uncomfortable, but also necessary and long overdue. A week passed with no contact from my family. I returned to work, grateful for the distraction of busy hospital shifts. My colleagues noticed something was off, but I kept the details vague. How could I explain that my family wanted to take my home away? Melissa, my closest friend at work, finally cornered me in the break room. Okay, spill it. You've been checking your phone obsessively and sighing every 5 minutes. I hesitated, then told her everything. To my surprise, she was outraged on my behalf. Your family expected you to just hand over your condo? That's insane, she exclaimed. And they called you selfish for saying no. Hearing someone else validate my feelings was immensely reassuring. They've always favored Adam, I explained. But this is different. This is my home. Good for you for standing your ground, Melissa said firmly. And honestly, Sam, maybe this distance from your family isn't such a bad thing. She was right. Despite the guilt and sadness I felt, there was also relief. For the first time, I wasn't worrying about my family's approval or trying to meet their impossible expectations. That weekend, I decided to truly make my condo mine in ways I'd been hesitant to before. I painted an accent wall deep blue, something my mother would have hated. I bought new curtains, rearranged furniture, and even adopted a cat from the local shelter, a sleek black feline I named Midnight. No one can tell me I can't have pets now, I told Midnight as she explored her new home. She meowed in apparent agreement. On Sunday evening, my phone rang with a call from Lily. I was surprised. We had never been particularly close. I wanted to check on you, she said, and to let you know that Adam and I found an apartment. It's smaller than we wanted, but it's in a decent area. That's good, I replied, genuinely relieved for them. I'm glad it worked out. It's not what your parents wanted, she admitted. They're still upset with you. Of course they were. And Adam? Lily sighed. He's conflicted. Your parents have been pushing the narrative that you're being selfish, but I think deep down he knows they were asking too much. I appreciated her honesty. Thanks for telling me, Lily. And for standing up for me. I didn't do enough, she said quietly. I should have spoken up at dinner. It wouldn't have mattered, I assured her. My parents had already made up their minds. After our call, I felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps Lily could be an ally, possibly even helping Adam see the situation more clearly. 2 more weeks passed without contact from my parents or Adam. I threw myself into work and spent my free time turning my condo into the sanctuary I'd always wanted it to be. Midnight proved to be excellent company, greeting me at the door when I came home from shifts and curling up with me as I read or watched TV. Then one evening, there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole to see my father standing there, looking uncomfortable. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Dad? Samantha? He nodded stiffly. May I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. My father entered, noticing the changes I'd made immediately. His eyes lingered on the blue wall, but he said nothing about it. Your mother and I have been thinking, he began, standing awkwardly in my living room. We may have been hasty in our approach. Coming from my father, this was as close to an apology as I was likely to get. You were more than hasty, I replied. You were disrespectful. He looked like he wanted to argue but restrained himself. Perhaps. But you need to understand our position. Adam is starting a family. Dad, I interrupted. I understand that Adam is getting married. I'm happy for him. But that doesn't mean I should give up my home. We were trying to help him, my father insisted. By hurting me, I pointed out. Did you ever consider how I would feel, being told my home should go to my brother because his life is somehow more valuable than mine? My father looked genuinely surprised. That's not what we meant. It's exactly how it came across, I said. You and Mom have always put Adam first. I've accepted that. But asking me to give up my home? That crosses a line. He was quiet for a moment, looking around my condo. For the first time, I wondered if he was actually seeing it, seeing the life I'd built for myself. Your mother misses you, he finally said. Sunday dinners aren't the same. I almost laughed at his attempt to guilt me. I miss aspects of our family too, Dad. But I need you all to respect my boundaries. This is my home. I worked hard for it. I'm not giving it up. He nodded slowly. Adam and Lily found an apartment. I know. Lily told me. This seemed to surprise him. You've been talking to Lily? She called to check on me, I explained. Unlike the rest of you. My father looked down at his hands. Your mother and I. We've always wanted what's best for both of you. No, I said gently. You've always wanted what's best for Adam. I was expected to make do. He started to deny it, then stopped himself. I should go, he said finally. Will you think about coming to dinner this Sunday? I considered it. Only if we can all agree to respect each other's boundaries. I won't be pressured about my condo again. Fair enough. He nodded. I'll tell your mother. After he left, I sat with midnight purring in my lap, thinking about the upcoming dinner. Part of me wanted to refuse, to protect myself from further hurt. But another part of me hoped that maybe, just maybe, this could be the beginning of a more balanced relationship with my family. The next day at work, I told Melissa about my father's visit. She looked skeptical. Just be careful, she warned. People don't change overnight. I know, I assured her. I'm going in with my eyes open. And if they start pressuring you again? Then I'll leave, I said simply. I'm done letting them make me feel less valuable than Adam. Melissa smiled. Look at you, setting boundaries like a boss. I laughed. It only took 28 years. As Sunday approached, I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. This dinner would be different. I wouldn't go in seeking their approval or trying to please everyone at my own expense. I would go as myself, Samantha Reed, homeowner, nurse, cat mom, and woman who finally knew her own worth. The night before the dinner, Lily texted me. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you for standing your ground. See you tomorrow. Her support meant more than I expected. Perhaps this family dinner wouldn't be a disaster after all. Sunday arrived with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. I spent extra time getting ready, carefully choosing an outfit that made me feel confident. Dark jeans, a blue blouse that matched my newly painted wall, and the silver earrings I'd bought myself after my first year as a nurse. Small reminders of the independent woman I'd become. Midnight watched from my bed as I applied makeup. Wish me luck, I told her, scratching behind her ears. She purred in response. The drive to my parents' suburban home felt both familiar and strange. I'd made this journey countless times before, but never with such clear boundaries in mind. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Adam's car was already there. Taking a deep breath, I reminded myself, I would stay calm, but I would not back down. My mother answered the door, her expression a mixture of relief and caution. Samantha, you came. She moved as if to hug me, then seemed to think better of it. I said I would, I replied, stepping inside. The house smelled like pot roast. Again, my mother's way of trying to smooth things over. In the living room, Adam and Lily sat on the couch. Lily gave me a small smile, while Adam nodded stiffly. My father emerged from the kitchen, glass of wine in hand. Samantha, he said, glad you could make it. The awkwardness was palpable. We moved to the dining room, taking our usual seats as my mother brought out the food. The first few minutes were filled with the sounds of cutlery and forced small talk about the weather. Finally, my mother broke the tension. So, Samantha, how have you been? I've been good, I replied honestly. I adopted a cat. Her name is Midnight. A cat? My mother frowned. Don't they make a mess? Not really. She's very clean, and she's good company. Speaking of company, my father interjected, Adam has some news. Adam straightened in his chair. I got promoted at work, junior partner. That's wonderful, I said, genuinely happy for him. Congratulations. Your brother has been working very hard, my mother beamed. And now with the wedding and the new apartment, everything is falling into place. I nodded, waiting for the inevitable comparison or subtle dig at my life choices. But it didn't come. How's the apartment hunt going? I asked Adam and Lily directly. Lily answered first. We found a place not far from downtown. It's smaller than we hoped, but the location is good. We're making it work, Adam added, a hint of challenge in his voice. That's great, I said, meeting his gaze steadily. Sometimes the best things in life take work and patience. My father cleared his throat. Samantha, your mother and I have been talking. We realize we may have overstepped with our suggestion about your condo. May have? I raised an eyebrow. We did overstep, my mother amended, surprising me. It was wrong to expect you to give up your home. I hadn't expected such a direct acknowledgement. Thank you for saying that. We've always wanted what's best for both our children, my father continued. Sometimes we've gotten it wrong. The admission hung in the air. I could see it cost him something to say it. I appreciate that, I said carefully. All I want is to be treated with the same respect and consideration you give Adam. My mother looked ready to object, but my father placed a hand over hers. That's fair, he said. Adam shifted uncomfortably in his seat. For what it's worth, I'm sorry too. I shouldn't have expected you to give up your place. His apology sounded rehearsed, but I appreciated the effort. Thank you. Family is important, Lily added softly. But so is respecting each other's boundaries. I smiled at her, grateful for the support. The conversation gradually shifted to wedding plans. My mother had been busy coordinating with the florist and caterer, taking over much of the planning from Lily, who seemed both relieved and slightly overwhelmed by my mother's intensity. Samantha, you'll need to come for a dress fitting next week, my mother informed me. As maid of honor, you need to match the other bridesmaids. I nearly choked on my wine. Maid of honor? Everyone stared at me. Lily looked confused. Didn't Adam tell you? We want you to be the maid of honor. I glanced at my brother, who had the grace to look embarrassed. I was going to ask you today, he mumbled. Despite everything, despite the hurt and anger of the past month, I felt touched. I'd be honored, I told Lily sincerely. As dinner progressed, I noticed subtle shifts in the family dynamic. My parents still doted on Adam, but they made more effort to include me in the conversation, asking about my work and actually listening to my answers. Adam seemed less entitled, occasionally catching himself when he started to dominate the conversation. After dessert, Lily asked to see photos of midnight. As I showed her pictures on my phone, my mother peered over my shoulder. She is quite pretty, my mother admitted, for a cat. Coming from her, this was high praise. You should meet her sometime, I offered. Perhaps I will, she said, surprising me again. Later, as I was helping clear the table, Adam approached me in the kitchen. Can we talk? Outside? We stepped onto the back porch, the evening air cool against my skin. Adam leaned against the railing, looking up at the stars. I've been thinking a lot about everything, he began. About how Mom and Dad have always treated us differently. I waited, not wanting to interrupt what seemed like an important realization for him. I never really saw it before, he continued. It was just normal to me that they made a bigger deal about my accomplishments, that they expected you to, I don't know, accommodate me. It was normal for me too, I admitted. I accepted it for a long time. He turned to face me. Lily helped me see it. She pointed out how unfair it was, what we asked of you. She actually got pretty angry with me about it. I like her more and more, I said with a small smile. Yeah, she's good for me. Adam ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit from childhood. I'm sorry, Sam, really. I've been selfish. The apology felt genuine this time. Thank you for saying that. The thing is, he continued, I've never had to struggle for anything. Not really. Dad gave me the job at his company. Mom always made things easy for me. When we needed a place to live, my first thought was to ask for help, not to figure it out myself. And now? Now we're making it work. The apartment isn't perfect, but it's ours. We're budgeting, cutting back on some wedding expenses. He gave a rueful smile. Turns out I can be an adult when I need to be. I laughed softly. Welcome to adulthood. It's not so bad once you get used to it. Lily and I want you to come see the apartment next week, if you're free. I'd like that, I said, meaning it. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the tension between us easing. You know, Adam said eventually, I've always been a little jealous of you. Jealous? Of me? I couldn't hide my surprise. You've always known what you wanted and worked for it. Nursing school, your condo, your life. You built it yourself. He shrugged. I just took what was given to me. His words touched me deeply. For years, I'd envied him for being the favorite, never realizing he might have envied me for my independence. It's not too late to build your own path, I told him. I'm starting to figure that out. He straightened up. We should go back inside before Mom sends a search party. As we walked back to the house, I felt something shift between us. Not a complete resolution. There were years of imbalance to address, but a beginning. A recognition that perhaps we could build a more equal relationship as adults. The rest of the evening passed pleasantly. When it was time to leave, my mother hugged me, holding on a moment longer than usual. "Come for dinner again next Sunday?" she asked. "I'd like that," I replied. "Maybe you and Dad could come to my place sometime. Meet midnight." She nodded, a tentative smile on her face. "We'd like that." Driving home, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The evening hadn't been perfect, but it had been honest. For the first time, my family had truly heard me. And maybe, just maybe, we were taking steps toward a healthier relationship. Midnight greeted me at the door, weaving between my legs as I entered. I picked her up, burying my face in her soft fur. "You missed quite a night," I told her. "But I think things might be looking up." The following week brought a new rhythm to my life. Work remained demanding. Flu season was hitting hard, and the hospital was constantly busy. But I found myself handling the stress better. Standing up to my family had given me confidence that carried over into other areas of my life. On Wednesday evening, I visited Adam and Lily's new apartment as promised. Their building was in a developing area of the city, not as established as mine, but with potential. The apartment itself was compact but thoughtfully arranged, with large windows that reminded me of my condo. "It's really nice," I told them sincerely as Lily gave me the tour. "It's coming together," she replied. "We had to get creative with the space." I noticed how they'd used room dividers and multifunctional furniture to make the most of the one-bedroom layout. The second bedroom they'd hoped for in my condo was absent, but they'd carved out a small office area in the living room that could eventually be converted for a baby. Adam was in the kitchen, struggling with a corkscrew and a bottle of wine. I watched him with amusement. My brother had rarely done anything in the kitchen at our parents' house. "Need help?" I offered. "I've got it," he insisted, finally extracting the cork with a triumphant smile. "See? Domestic God." Lily rolled her eyes affectionately. "He made dinner, too. Be prepared." "You cooked?" I couldn't hide my surprise. Adam shrugged, looking slightly embarrassed. "I'm learning. Mom's not here to do it anymore." We sat down to a simple meal of pasta with store-bought sauce and salad. It wasn't gourmet, but the fact that Adam had made it himself was remarkable. "I'm impressed," I told him honestly. "Last time I checked, you could barely make toast." "Still can't," he grinned. "But I'm figuring out other things." As we ate, I noticed the subtle changes in my brother. He seemed more attentive to Lily, jumping up to refill her water glass and asking about her day. There was a new maturity in his manner, a thoughtfulness I hadn't seen before. "How are wedding plans going?" I asked. Lily sighed. "Your mother has strong opinions. She wants everything perfect," Adam explained. "Sometimes too perfect." "We're actually thinking of scaling back a bit," Lily added. "The venue your parents chose is beautiful, but it's so expensive." "And you're paying for it?" I asked, surprised. Our parents had always implied they were covering the wedding costs. Adam looked uncomfortable. "They're contributing, but they expected us to cover a lot more than we realized. After the apartment deposit and first month's rent, things are tight." I'd assumed my parents were footing the entire bill, especially given how they'd taken over the planning. It was a relief to learn they weren't financially enabling Adam as completely as I'd thought. "We're making it work," Lily assured me, adjusting expectations. "Welcome to adult life," I smiled. "It's all about adjusting expectations." After dinner, Adam insisted on clearing the dishes himself, while Lily and I moved to the small balcony with our wine. The view wasn't spectacular, mostly other apartment buildings, but there was something peaceful about watching the city lights come on as evening deepened. "Thank you," Lily said suddenly. "For what?" "For standing your ground about your condo." She looked at me directly. "It forced Adam to grow up a bit, and it made your parents realize they can't always control everything." I was touched by her candor. "It wasn't easy." "I know." She swirled the wine in her glass. I've struggled with saying no to your parents, too. They can be overwhelming. That's an understatement. I laughed. The thing is, Lily continued thoughtfully, I think they really do believe they're doing what's best. They just can't see that their help sometimes becomes control. Her insight surprised me. That's exactly it. They help, but with conditions. Adam's learning to set boundaries too. He turned down your father's offer to pay our rent in exchange for us working weekends at the company. This was news to me. Dad offered to pay your rent? Lily nodded. After you refused to give up your condo, Adam said no. He said we needed to do this ourselves. Pride welled up in me. My brother was finally standing on his own feet. When Adam joined us on the balcony, the conversation shifted to wedding details. As maid of honor, I needed to know about the bachelorette party and bridal shower. Lily wanted something low-key, despite my mother's suggestions for an extravagant weekend in Las Vegas. Just dinner and drinks with close friends, Lily explained. Maybe a spa day. Nothing crazy. Mom won't be happy, Adam warned. It's not her bachelorette party, Lily replied firmly. I smiled, impressed by her quiet confidence. I'll help you manage, Mom. I've had years of practice. As the evening drew to a close, I felt a new closeness with both Adam and Lily. This visit had shown me a side of my brother I'd rarely seen. Someone learning to be responsible, to make his own way. This was nice, I said as I prepared to leave. We should do it more often. Definitely, Adam agreed, giving me a genuine hug. Maybe next time at your place. I want to meet this famous cat. Driving home, I reflected on how much had changed in just a few weeks. The family crisis that began with my parents' outrageous demand had somehow shifted the dynamics between all of us. For the first time, I felt like Adam was seeing me as an equal, not just his accommodating older sister. The next day at work, Melissa noticed my improved mood immediately. Something's different, she observed as we took our lunch break together. You seem lighter. I told her about the visit to Adam and Lily's apartment and the changes I'd seen in my brother. Wow, she said when I finished. So standing your ground actually helped everyone. I think it did, I agreed. My parents are still adjusting, but Adam seems to be growing up. And how about you? Melissa asked. How are you feeling about everything? I considered the question. Stronger, more confident, like I finally know my own worth. About time, she grinned, raising her coffee cup in a toast. To knowing your worth. That weekend, I tackled a project I'd been putting off, converting my second bedroom into a proper home office. For years, it had been a multi-purpose room, filled with storage boxes and a small desk. Now I wanted it to reflect my new sense of purpose. I spent Saturday painting the walls a warm ivory, moving furniture, and setting up a comfortable workspace. On Sunday morning, I went shopping for a proper office chair and some artwork to brighten the space. My phone rang as I was browsing through a home goods store. It was my mother. Samantha, are you coming to dinner tonight? She asked without preamble. I'd been so focused on my project that I'd forgotten about the standing invitation. I wasn't planning to, I admitted. I'm in the middle of redoing my home office. Oh, she sounded disappointed. Your father grilled steaks. Your favorite. The old guilt began to creep in, but I pushed it back. I'm sorry, Mom. I've already committed to this project. Maybe next Sunday. I suppose that's fine, she said, her tone suggesting it was anything but fine. We were hoping to discuss some wedding details with you and Adam. Can we do it during the week? I could come by after work one evening. There was a pause as she considered this. Wednesday would work? Your father doesn't have his golf league that night. Wednesday it is, I agreed, surprised at how easily the compromise had been reached. What are you doing to your office? She asked, showing unexpected interest in my project. I explained my plans, expecting criticism or suggestions for how I should do it differently. Instead, she said, It sounds lovely. You always did have a good eye for color. The compliment caught me off guard. Thanks, Mom. I should let you get back to your shopping. We'll see you Wednesday. After hanging up, I stood in the aisle of the store, processing what had just happened. I'd said no to a family dinner, something that would have been unthinkable a month ago, and my mother had accepted it without a major guilt trip. Moreover, she'd actually complimented my taste. Small steps, perhaps, but significant ones. By Sunday evening, my new office was taking shape. The desk faced the window, giving me a view of the city while I worked. I'd hung floating shelves for books and added plants to brighten the space. Midnight had claimed the new armchair by the bookcase, curled up contentedly as I put the finishing touches on the room. Looking around at what I'd accomplished, I felt a deep satisfaction. This space, like the rest of my condo, was a reflection of me, my tastes, my needs, my life, and I'd protected it, standing firm even when it would have been easier to give in. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Thanks again for coming over." It meant a lot to Adam and me. "Dinner again soon?" I smiled as I replied, "Absolutely. My place next time. Midnight is excited to meet you both." Setting my phone down, I settled into my new office chair, Midnight purring on my lap. For the first time in weeks, I felt completely at peace in my home, confident that I had made the right decision in protecting it. This was where I belonged, and no one had the right to take it from me, not even family. Wednesday evening arrived with a light rain that made the commute to my parents' house longer than usual. I'd come directly from work, still in my scrubs with a change of clothes in my bag. The hospital had been chaotic. 2 nurses had called in sick, leaving us short-staffed during a busy shift. I was tired and slightly irritable as I pulled into my parents' driveway, reminding myself to stay calm and focused during the wedding discussions. This wasn't about me. It was about supporting Adam and Lily. My father answered the door, eyebrows rising at my appearance. "Rough day?" "Short-staffed," I explained, stepping inside. "Is it okay if I change before dinner?" "Of course. Your mother's just finishing up in the kitchen." I headed upstairs to my old bedroom, which my mother had partially converted into a sewing room after I moved out. My twin bed remained, now covered with fabric samples and pattern books. The walls still held remnants of my teenage years, a bulletin board with faded concert tickets, a shelf of trophies from high school debate team. After changing into jeans and a sweater, I paused to look at the photos my mother had kept displayed on my old dresser. Me in my nursing school graduation gown, a family vacation to the Grand Canyon when I was 15, Adam 13, a Christmas portrait from when we were small children, before the family dynamics had become so complicated. "Samantha?" My mother called up the stairs. "Dinner's ready?" Downstairs, I found Adam and Lily already seated at the dining table. The conversation flowed more easily than it had during our last family dinner, focusing on Lily's work as an elementary school teacher and Adam's new responsibilities at the insurance company. My mother had made lasagna, comfort food that seemed appropriate for the rainy evening. As we ate, she broached the subject of the wedding. "We need to finalize the guest list this week," she said, pulling out a notebook filled with her meticulous handwriting. "The venue needs a head count by Friday." Lily looked uncomfortable. "Actually, about the venue..." My mother frowned. "What about it? The country club is perfect. Your father and I got married there, Samantha." I remembered the photos of their wedding, my mother radiant in a massive white gown, my father handsome in his tuxedo. The country club had been the pinnacle of luxury in our suburban community 30 years ago. "It's beautiful," Lily said carefully, "but Adam and I have been talking, and we're concerned about the cost." "Don't worry about that," my father waved dismissively. "We told you we'd contribute." Adam cleared his throat. "The thing is, Dad, even with your contribution, it's more than we can comfortably afford right now." My mother set down her fork. "What are you saying?" "We're thinking of choosing a different venue," Lily explained. "Something smaller, more intimate." The tension in the room thickened. My mother's face had gone rigid, a sure sign she was upset but trying to control it. "But all the plans are already in motion," she protested. "Deposits have been paid." "We know," Adam said, glancing at Lily for support. "We'll cover the lost deposits. But we need to make this decision for ourselves." I watched this exchange with growing admiration for my brother and his fiancée. They were doing exactly what I had done, setting boundaries, making their own choices even when it disappointed our parents. Where would you have it instead? My father asked, his tone neutral but his expression concerned. Lily's aunt has a beautiful property just outside the city, Adam explained. A renovated barn with gardens. It's charming and would cost less than half what the country club charges. A barn? My mother looked horrified. For a wedding? It's not a working barn, Mom, Adam said patiently. It's a venue. Very rustic chic. Lots of people are choosing places like that now. But what will people think? She pressed. Everyone expects a certain level of refinement. They'll think we had a beautiful wedding that reflected who we are as a couple, Lily said with quiet conviction. That's what matters to us. My mother turned to me, clearly seeking an ally. Samantha, tell them how lovely the country club is. You remember your cousin Jennifer's wedding there. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. I remember it was beautiful. But I also think Adam and Lily should have the wedding they want, not the wedding others expect them to have. My mother's face fell. My father studied his plate, then looked up at Adam. Son, are you sure about this? The country club has meaning for our family. I'm sure, Dad, Adam said firmly. Lily and I want to start our marriage making responsible choices. This is one of them. The room fell silent. I expected my mother to push back harder, to insist on the country club as she had insisted on so many things over the years. Instead, she slowly closed her wedding planning notebook. I see, she said quietly. Well, if that's what you've decided. We have, Adam confirmed. We'd still love your help with planning, Mom, just at the new venue. My mother nodded stiffly. I'll need to see this barn before I can be of any use. We can go this weekend, Lily offered, relief evident in her voice. You'll see how special it is. As the conversation shifted to other wedding details, I caught Adam's eye across the table. He gave me a small smile that spoke volumes. He was standing his ground, just as I had stood mine. After dinner, while Lily helped my mother clear the table, my father pulled Adam and me aside in the living room. I want to talk to both of you about something, he said, his expression serious. Your mother and I have been doing some thinking. Adam and I exchanged glances, bracing ourselves for whatever was coming. We realize we haven't always been equitable in how we've treated you, my father continued, the admission clearly difficult for him. We've expected different things from each of you. Dad, you don't need to, Adam began, but our father held up a hand. Let me finish. This isn't easy for me. He took a deep breath. Samantha, we've always expected you to be the responsible one, the one who accommodates others. And Adam, we've perhaps been too quick to step in and solve problems for you. I was stunned by his self-awareness. My father had never been one for emotional conversations or admitting mistakes. We're proud of both of you, he continued. Samantha, your standing up for yourself about your condo was, well, it made us realize we've taken your compliance for granted. And Adam, seeing you make these responsible decisions about the wedding and your future, it's what we always hoped for. Thanks, Dad, Adam said softly. Your mother is having a harder time adjusting, our father admitted. She has certain ideas about how things should be, but she's trying. We know, I assured him, and we appreciate it. Later that evening, as I prepared to leave, my mother pulled me aside in the entryway. Your office project, how did it turn out? Really well, I replied, surprised by her continued interest. It's much more functional now. She hesitated, then asked, perhaps I could see it sometime? Your condo, I mean. We haven't visited since you first moved in. The request was unexpected, but welcome. I'd like that, Mom. How about next week? She nodded. I'll check with your father, but I think we're free on Tuesday evening. As I drove home through the rainy night, I reflected on the subtle but significant shifts in my family. My brother was making adult decisions. My father was acknowledging past mistakes. My mother was making efforts in her own way to connect with me on my terms. None of it would have happened if I hadn't stood firm about my condo. By refusing to be the accommodating daughter they'd always taken for granted, I had forced them all to reconsider our family patterns. At home, Midnight greeted me with her usual enthusiasm. I changed into pajamas and settled on the couch. The cat curled contentedly beside me. "Things are changing," I told her, stroking her sleek fur. "Slowly, but they're changing." For the first time in my adult life, I felt truly seen by my family, not just as Adam's obliging sister or my parents' dutiful daughter, but as Samantha Reed, a woman with her own life, her own home, and her own right to set boundaries. It had been a difficult journey, but one worth taking. Tuesday evening arrived with unexpected nervousness. My parents were coming to my condo, really seeing it for the first time, and I found myself rushing around after work, tidying already clean spaces and rearranging flowers in the vase on my dining table. "They're just my parents," I told Midnight, who watched my frantic preparations with feline indifference. "It doesn't matter what they think." But it did matter, in ways I wasn't entirely comfortable admitting. Despite everything, some part of me still craved their approval. I'd prepared a simple dinner, roasted chicken with vegetables and a salad. Nothing fancy, but homemade and comforting. I'd even bought my father's favorite beer and found a bottle of the white wine my mother preferred. At precisely 6 o'clock, my doorbell rang. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door to find my parents standing there, my father holding a small gift bag. "Welcome," I said, stepping aside to let them in. "Thank you for coming." My mother looked around immediately, her eyes taking in every detail. I braced myself for criticism, but her first words surprised me. "The light in here is lovely," she said. "Those large windows really make a difference." "Thanks," I replied, relief washing over me. "That's what sold me on the place." My father handed me the gift bag. "Just a little housewarming. Better late than never." Inside was a beautiful ceramic serving platter in shades of blue that perfectly matched my newly painted accent wall. "It's gorgeous," I said sincerely. "Thank you. Your mother picked it out," my father said. "She has an eye for these things." My mother actually looked pleased at the compliment. "I remembered you mentioned painting a wall blue. I thought this might complement it." The thoughtfulness of the gift touched me deeply. It wasn't just a random housewarming present. They had listened to me and chosen something that fit my home. As I gave them a tour of the condo, Midnight emerged from the bedroom, eyeing the visitors cautiously. "So this is the famous cat," my father said, kneeling down and extending his hand. To my surprise, Midnight approached him, sniffing his fingers, before allowing him to stroke her head. "She likes you," I observed. "Animals always do," he said with unexpected softness. "We had cats when I was growing up. Did you know that?" I hadn't known. It was strange to realize there were still things to learn about my father after all these years. In my newly renovated office, my mother examined the bookshelves and desk arrangement with approval. "You've used the space well," she commented. "It's functional but still attractive." "That's what I was going for," I said, pleased by her understanding. My father noticed the framed nursing license on the wall. "You should be proud of this," he said, gesturing to it. "Not everyone has the compassion and intelligence for medical work." Coming from him, this was extraordinary praise. "Thank you, Dad. That means a lot." During dinner, the conversation flowed more easily than I'd anticipated. My parents asked about my work, seeming genuinely interested in the challenges and rewards of nursing. I found myself sharing stories about patients and colleagues that I'd never thought would interest them. "It sounds like you're making a real difference," my father commented after I described helping an elderly patient recover from hip surgery. "I try to," I replied. "That's why I went into nursing, to help people through difficult times." "Your grandmother would have been proud," my mother said unexpectedly. "She always said you had healing hands, even when you were little." I felt a lump form in my throat. My maternal grandmother had been one of my greatest supporters, but she'd passed away during my first year of nursing school. "I didn't know she said that." "All the time," my mother confirmed. "She knew you'd do something special with your life." After dinner, as we sat in the living room with coffee, my father broached a subject I hadn't expected. Your mother and I have been doing some reflecting since the issue with your condo came up. I tensed slightly, wondering if they were about to revisit their request, but he continued in a different direction. We realized we've always had different expectations for you and Adam. We expected you to be the responsible one from a very young age. You were always so capable, my mother added. Even as a child, Adam needed more guidance. But that doesn't make it fair, my father acknowledged. We put adult responsibilities on you and babied your brother. It wasn't right. I sat in stunned silence. Never had I expected such self-awareness from my parents, let alone an acknowledgement of the unequal treatment I'd felt my entire life. We're trying to do better, my mother said. With both of you. I've noticed, I replied honestly. And I appreciate it. My father leaned forward, his expression earnest. We're proud of you, Samantha, of what you've accomplished. This home, your career. You've built a good life for yourself. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes. Thank you. That means everything to me. We should have told you sooner, my mother admitted. And more often. As the evening drew to a close, there was a new warmth between us, a tentative bridge across years of misunderstanding. When they prepared to leave, my mother hugged me tightly. Your home is beautiful, she whispered. Because it's yours. Because you made it that way. After they left, I sat on my couch with midnight curled beside me, processing what had happened. For the first time, my parents had seen me, really seen me, and affirmed my choices. The approval I'd sought for so long had finally come, not because I'd conformed to their expectations, but because I'd stood firm in my own identity. The next morning at work, I shared the evening's events with Melissa during our break. So, they actually apologized? She asked incredulously. In their own way, yes, I confirmed. It wasn't perfect, but it was sincere. Wow, Melissa shook her head in amazement. People can change. Apparently so, I agreed. It feels like we're establishing a new relationship, more adult to adult, less parent to child. That's huge, Sam. How does it feel? I considered the question carefully. Good. Different, but good. Like I can finally be myself with them without constantly seeking their approval. That's what healthy family relationships should be, she observed. Mutual respect. Later that day, Lily called to discuss bachelorette party plans. After we settled on a spa day followed by dinner at her favorite restaurant, she asked about my parents' visit. Adam told me they were going to your place. How did it go? Surprisingly well, I replied. They actually complimented my home and my career choices. That's great. Lily sounded genuinely pleased. They came to see the barn venue with us last weekend, and your mom only mentioned the country club twice. Progress, right? I laughed. Definite progress. Adam's been different lately, she continued thoughtfully. More confident in making his own decisions, less concerned about your parents' approval. I think seeing you stand your ground inspired him. The observation touched me deeply. I'm glad. He needs to find his own path. We both do, Lily agreed. And having you as a sister-in-law who models that independence will be wonderful. After we hung up, I reflected on how the ripple effects of my decision to protect my home had extended far beyond me. By refusing to sacrifice my needs for my brothers, I had inadvertently helped him grow. By setting boundaries with my parents, I had opened the possibility for a healthier relationship with them. That evening, I sat in my newly organized home office, working on a personal project I'd long postponed, applying for a specialized nursing certification that would advance my career. My condo was quiet, except for midnight's soft purring and the gentle tapping of my keyboard. This was my life, the one I'd built carefully and protected fiercely. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time, my family seemed to truly understand and respect that. As I worked into the evening, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The journey had been difficult, forcing me to confront long-established family patterns and stand up for myself in ways that felt uncomfortable and even selfish at first. But the outcome, greater respect from my family, healthier boundaries, and a stronger sense of self-worth had been worth every moment of conflict. I had refused to give up my home, and in doing so, I had found something even more valuable: my voice. 3 months passed quickly, filled with wedding preparations, work responsibilities, and a new rhythm in my family relationships. The changes that began with my refusal to give up my condo had stabilized into something healthier, though not without occasional tensions and old habits resurfacing. My parents still sometimes slipped into their pattern of favoring Adam, but they caught themselves more often. My mother had even started calling me for advice about her garden, acknowledging my green thumb, a talent she'd previously overlooked. Adam and Lily had settled into their apartment, making it a true home. Adam had continued his surprising journey into adulthood, taking cooking classes and handling their finances with newfound responsibility. The wedding plans had proceeded smoothly after the venue change, with my mother eventually embracing the rustic barn setting, even adding her own elegant touches to the decor. On the morning of the wedding, I arrived early at Lily's parents' house, where the bridal party was getting ready. As maid of honor, I carried a garment bag with my dark green dress and a bag of emergency supplies: safety pins, fashion tape, pain relievers, and tissues. The house was already buzzing with activity: bridesmaids in matching robes, makeup artists setting up their stations, Lily's mother arranging breakfast pastries in the kitchen. Lily sat at the dining room table, still in pajamas, looking both excited and overwhelmed. "Reinforcements have arrived," I announced, setting down my bags and giving her a hug. "How are you feeling?" "Nervous, happy, everything at once," she laughed. "That's normal," I assured her. "Everything's going to be beautiful." My mother arrived shortly after, immediately taking charge of coordinating with the hairstylists and helping Lily's mother organize the morning schedule. I watched with amusement as she slipped into her element, managing details and keeping everyone on track. For all her faults, my mother excelled at making events run smoothly. "Samantha," she called, "can you check that the florist delivered the correct bouquets? They should have arrived already." "I'm on it," I replied, heading to the front porch where several large boxes waited. Inside were exactly what we'd ordered: lush arrangements of wildflowers and greenery that complemented the rustic venue perfectly. The morning passed in a whirlwind of preparations. I helped Lily with her vows, held her hand through a brief moment of panic, and made sure she ate something despite her nerves. By the time we were all dressed and ready to leave for the venue, the initial chaos had transformed into excited anticipation. At the barn, I caught my first glimpse of Adam, handsome in his dark suit, looking uncharacteristically nervous as he greeted guests with our father at his side. When he saw me, he broke into a relieved smile. "How is she?" he asked anxiously. "Beautiful and ready to marry you," I assured him, straightening his boutonniere. "How are you holding up?" "Terrified," he admitted with a shaky laugh, "but the good kind of terrified." "That's how you know it matters," I told him, giving his hand a squeeze. The ceremony was everything Adam and Lily had hoped for: intimate, personal, and deeply moving. Standing beside Lily as she exchanged vows with my brother, I felt a surge of pride in both of them. They had created this day on their terms, making choices that reflected who they were as a couple, rather than bowing to expectations. During the reception, I watched my parents as they moved among the guests. My father looked proud as he introduced Adam's colleagues from the insurance company to Lily's family. My mother, after initially fretting about the rustic setting, was now happily pointing out the elegant touches she'd helped coordinate: twinkling lights strung across the rafters, linen tablecloths that softened the wooden tables, centerpieces that combined wildflowers with crystal candle holders from her own collection. "Your mother did a wonderful job with the decorations," Lily's aunt commented as she passed me a glass of champagne. "She has a good eye." "She does," I agreed. Once she embraced the concept, she really ran with it. Later, during the dancing, my father asked me to join him on the floor. As we moved to the music, he said, "This turned out better than I expected." "The wedding?" "That too," he nodded. "But I was thinking about our family. these past few months, since you stood your ground about your condo, things have changed. For the better, I think, I replied. Definitely for the better. He looked over at Adam and Lily, who were laughing as they danced together. Your brother has grown up a lot, and your mother and I, well, we've had to reconsider some things. It wasn't easy, I acknowledged. For any of us. The important things rarely are, my father said thoughtfully. I'm proud of you, Samantha, not just for your accomplishments, but for your character, for knowing your own worth and standing up for it. His words warmed me deeply. Thank you, Dad. I should have said it more often over the years, he admitted. We took you for granted because you were always so capable, so reliable. I'm still those things, I told him. I just needed to set some boundaries. Healthy ones, he agreed. We all did. As the evening progressed, I delivered my maid of honor speech, sharing stories about Adam and Lily that made the guests laugh and brought tears to my brother's eyes. I spoke about love and partnership, about building a life together based on mutual respect and support. To Adam and Lily, I concluded, raising my glass, may you build a home together that reflects who you are and what you value, and may you always respect each other's boundaries along the way. Adam caught my eye across the room, understanding the deeper meaning behind my words. He nodded slightly, acknowledging how far we'd all come. After the newlyweds departed amid a shower of flower petals, I helped with some of the cleanup before heading home. My parents insisted on driving me, despite my protests that I could call a rideshare. We're heading in that direction anyway, my mother said, and we want to make sure you get home safely. In the car, a comfortable silence settled between us, the kind that can only exist when people have moved past pretense and found a more authentic way to relate to each other. As we pulled up to my building, my father turned to face me from the driver's seat. We're having a small dinner next weekend, just family, to welcome Adam and Lily back from their honeymoon. Will you come? I'd love to, I replied sincerely. Bring midnight, my mother added with a small smile. She's practically family now, too. The comment surprised and touched me. I think she'd like that. Inside my condo, I kicked off my heels with relief and changed into comfortable clothes. Midnight greeted me with her usual enthusiasm, weaving between my legs as I moved around the kitchen, preparing a late-night snack. Standing by my window, looking out at the city lights, I reflected on the journey of the past few months. What had begun as a crisis, my parents' outrageous demand that I give up my home, had transformed into an opportunity for growth and change for our entire family. By refusing to sacrifice my needs, I had inadvertently created space for Adam to become more responsible, for my parents to recognize their patterns of favoritism, and for all of us to build healthier relationships. Most importantly, I had affirmed my own worth, proving to myself and to my family that my life and my choices deserved respect. My condo remained mine, the home I had worked for, the space I had created for myself. But the true victory wasn't in keeping the physical space. It was in establishing boundaries that protected my sense of self, in finding my voice after years of accommodation, and in helping my family evolve into something healthier than it had been before. As I settled on my couch with midnight purring beside me, I felt a deep sense of peace. The path forward wasn't perfect. Old patterns would resurface, new challenges would arise. But we had made a beginning. We had taken the first steps toward a family dynamic based on mutual respect rather than expectation and obligation. And it had all started with one word, spoken firmly and without apology. No. Sometimes that's all it takes to change everything.